Welcome back. Mr. McScuzzy here, showing you a new command block creation I've made inside of Minecraft. So this one is called the Lost Arts, and what it is, it's a roleplay style game inside of Minecraft, where you can play in the style of Dungeons and Dragons or World of Warcraft inside of the game. So this took me over 35 hours of programming and 474 command blocks to create. Not all the command blocks are right here. A few of them destroy themselves after they establish the correct scoreboard objectives. But anyway, let's get into this. So the first thing I would like to mention with this creation is how you can learn how to use it. So once you have it installed, and I'll put a link to downloading the MCEdit schematic or a world download with these command blocks in the description. Once you have it installed, the first thing you want to do is you want to name a book The Lost Arts, and this will tell you how to use this command block creation. So once you name it The Lost Arts, keeping capitalization of every word, making the first letter of every word capital, drop the book and it'll turn into a written book, which will sort of give you an overview of all the different classes and how to use it. Anyway, so the first class in this module is a fighter class. There's 5 classes: fighter, rogue, ranger, cleric, and wizard. So the first one I'll go over is fighter class. So the fighter, to become a class, you rename a book to the name of that class. So I name it fighter. Then you drop it and pick it back up. So once I get it back, I'm already a fighter. So I have constant haste and resistance as a fighter. I like to give each class a sort of survival utility besides just the combat style. So fighters can have haste so they can mine stuff faster, and resistance is their sort of combat style. Also, fighters can use all different types of armor and different types of weapons, weapons being swords and axes. Also, when a fighter reaches 2 hearts in health, once per day, they regain 4 hearts. So I'm just going to jump off this cliff a little bit to demonstrate that. Yeah. Or is there any other monsters around? I'm going to set it to night. And then maybe we can have a little bit more interesting than just jumping off a cliff over and over again. But yeah, so what I was saying is when a fighter reaches 2 hearts in health, which I'm almost there, just at 3 hearts, then once per day or once per time sleeping, oh, ow, I accidentally killed myself. It only happens when they reach 2 hearts in health, and no more and no less. So it's when they're really low on health but not killed outright. Then fighters become stronger than normal. So I'm going to set back to survival mode, and I'm going to demonstrate that. And I'm just going to drop myself down over and over again, because that is how... I will show you this, even if it kills me. Get it? Ha ha ha. Okay, you should laugh. Anyway, so when a fighter reaches 2 hearts in health, oh, I needed to sleep. They regain a few hearts in health. And I did not need to sleep there. It was on cooldown because it did it when I had died. And if I get hurt again, since I had already regened all of it, I will not regain my hearts. I'll just stay at 2 hearts of health unless I sleep again to regain the ability. So I'm just going to demonstrate that really quickly here. Almost there. Well, I gained it once, but I wouldn't gain it again because I had slept. So once it's been used, you need to sleep again in order to use it again. See, now I'm less than 2 hearts of health and I'm not being hurt. So that's why fighters are sort of the toughest class to kill, because they have a regen when they get really low on health, and they have constant resistance and diamond armor. And eventually, once 1.9 comes out, I'm going to modify this to make it so they're one of the few classes that can use shields. So the next class I'd like to show you is the Rogue. So again, you rename a book to the name of the class, and you drop it on the ground, and you'll become that class. So rogues have constant speed, strength, and jump boost. speed and jump boost sort of help a rogue move quickly, while strength make it do a lot of damage. Strength is a big bonus for rogues. In most roleplay games, rogues are always the striker class, the ones who want to get in there and deal the most damage. Jump boost also helps the rogues deal damage because it helps them with their critical hits. Rogues can only wear chain and leather armor, and they cannot wear anything above that like diamond or iron. If they do, when they put it on, they'll get slowness 4. It doesn't look like slowness 4 in there, but it is slowness 4. You are extremely slow when not wearing armor that you're proficient in. And then they have, they can use all weapons, and they have strengths, so they're often the ones that want to get in there, deal a lot of damage, but they can get hurt a lot, because my armor bar can never be very high, and it's hard to get chain armor because you'd have to kill it off of zombies. So rogues, there is different pluses and minuses to them. Also, when rogues are holding a pair of shears and looking straight down, they can pick locks on doors, sort of by sending it a redstone signal. So if I grab myself an iron door, I bet I can show you this. When I'm holding shears and looking straight down, that kind of was really loud. It creates an iron weighted pressure plate underneath you that can send a signal out. I left that so I can walk up to this door, and this is going to be really loud. Biggest lock and walk through. So yeah, that's how that works. And you can also make cool redstone contraptions that only a rogue can activate with that ability. So the next class I'd like to show you, if I'm gonna, is the Ranger. So I'll grab this book and toss it on the ground and pick it back up again. So now I'm a Ranger. So Rangers also have speed and jump boost, but instead of strength they have resistance, which isn't quite as useful in a variety of circumstances. So some features of a Ranger is whenever they're holding a bow, they get night vision. Again, like a rogue, they can only wear chain and leather armor. But unlike a rogue, they cannot use diamond weapons, and weapons being axes or swords. They can use it, it's just not very effective because I have weakness 4, so it would take me forever if I wasn't in creative mode to kill a zombie that's much more inefficient than just using an iron weapon. So also Rangers, so when they're holding a bow, they get night vision, and when they shoot the arrow, they apply a debuff effect to animals. So it sort of withers them for a time, dealing more damage than most people would with a bow. And whenever Rangers are on leaves, instead of speed 1 and jump boost 1, they get speed 2 and jump boost 2, allowing them to parkour between treetops to get their shots. Yeah, and also Rangers, if I go into survival mode here, can hold their breath longer than most classes. Yeah, so I'm being given this water breathing effect every now and then whenever I'm underwater that lets me hold my breath a lot longer than most. So that's what a Ranger is good at. So the next class I'd like to show you is the Cleric. So I'll grab this book named Cleric, and I'll show you how to use it. So if I drop it and pick it back up again, I become a Cleric, and I spelled Cleric wrong, so that shows you that it's case sensitive, and it's also, yeah, you have to spell it right. So Clerics just have resistance, and they can't wear diamond armor, they can only wear iron, and they can't use diamond weapons, they can only use iron. This lets, so there's not much to them other than, so there's no like constant buffs to a Cleric, except for also a Cleric every what is it? I think it's every 30 seconds or so, they get a small level of saturation, which means they lose their hunger slower than most classes, and they can't starve to death by standing still, and they'll eventually regain their hunger. But the last thing that actually makes a Cleric worthwhile to play is its spells. So to create a spell, you rename a piece of paper inside of an anvil to the name of a spell, and the spell names are included inside the Lost Arts book that I showed you earlier. Oh, and it's case sensitive. So Cure Light Wounds is one of the cleric spells. To get a spell, you drop the spell on the ground and pick it back up again. There's 5 cleric spells, and then you sleep in a bed to regain your spells. And oh, it's Cure Wounds, not Cure Light Wounds. It's a different spell inside of Dungeons and Dragons. Cure Wounds is a little slightly more powerful. I originally had a Cure Light Wounds, but I made it Cure Wounds because it made it more balanced. So anyway, I have these spells now. Each of these spells do different things. First, Cure Wounds will heal where it lands. So if I throw it at a zombie, since zombies are undead, it will damage them and kill them. And then if I throw it towards myself, it will heal me. And you notice when I'm in survival mode, when I throw it, it uses the snowballs. And that's why these numbers here is how many times you can cast it per day. Well, actually, it's one more time than you can cast it. Per day, as in per every time you sleep when you regain your spells. So I can cast Cure Wounds 15 times, well, 14 more times, and Inflict Wounds 16 times. So Inflict Wounds is like Cure Wounds, except for it does damage instead of healing. Turn Undead, it does a massive amount of damage to undead that are close to you, but you can only use it a couple times per day. Mass Healing Word heals all players that are near you, and Light, which is one of my favorite ones, when you throw it, wherever it lands, torch is created. This will only work if it hits straight on the ground, and will not work if you throw it into tall grass, or will not work when you throw it against a tree. But it will drop a torch when it doesn't work. Otherwise, it's a really useful spell to be able to light up caverns that are far away from you, so you get pretty much 15 free torches per day when you're a cleric, which isn't that much, and torches are really easy to create, but this lets you throw your torches before you land them. So that is the cleric class. I can demonstrate Mass Healing Word as well, because I had not done that yet. So now I'm damaged, I can use Mass Healing Word to heal. And when you run out of a spell, you'll be given a piece of paper named the spell, which doesn't let you cast it. And when you sleep again, you will regain all your spells. You will not regain spells if you never made them in the first place. So that is the Cleric. So the last class, the most complicated class, is the Wizard. It's sort of my favorite. Well, I like all the classes, but the Wizard is more complicated. And when I play role-play games, I'm often a Wizard. So I'm going to drop the book and pick it back up again to become a Wizard. And Wizards have no constant effects. Wizards cannot wear chain, iron, or diamond armor. They can only wear gold and leather. See, if I'm wearing gold, I'm fine, but then if I start wearing a piece of diamond armor, I get slowness. So that's sort of the basics of a wizard, but also wizards cannot use iron or diamond weapons. See, when I'm holding this iron weapon, I get weakness 4 like I would with a diamond weapon. So their best weapons they can use are stone. So you may be wondering, why would you want to be a wizard? It seems like they just have limitations, not benefits. Well, their benefits is their wide spell list and the utility of these spells. So I'm going to drop these spells and pick them back up again to gain them like I did with the cleric. And then I'm going to sleep, and that will... Oh, stupid monsters. I'll grab the bed and move it away from the monsters. And I'll gain my spells. So these are the 7 different spells a cleric can cast. First, there's Teleport. When you use it, it sort of makes you into an Enderman, and you have a random teleport. It does this with spread players, and it can make it useful to get away from combat. One of my favorite uses is when you're going to the end to take down the Ender Dragon. If you spawn on a platform away from the end, and you don't want to be knocked off, or you spawn underground in the end, you can use this to teleport yourself to be ready. The next spell that they have is Jump, which whenever they cast it, it gives them a large amount of jump boost, letting them to get to high places, but it doesn't last very long. So they can pretty much jump that high 5 times per every time they sleep. The next spell is a slow spell, which if I throw it at monsters, they now can walk they now walk very slowly. So now since I cast it on all those monsters, they're coming after me, but they can't do much. But I can only cast this a few times per day. The next spell is a haste spell. When I cast it, it gives me speed and haste, which I can then run fast and mine blocks fast, letting you like instant mine cobblestone and other blocks you wouldn't be able to do normally, but it only lasts 20 seconds, so it's not the most useful thing for mining, because since you can only do it for short bursts and only 3 times for every time you sleep. Also, one thing I forgot to mention on slow is, aside from giving the slowness effect, it also gives mining fatigue effect. Mining fatigue 3, so it's hard for them to destroy blocks. The next spell is Magic Missile. So Magic Missile in Dungeons & Dragons is an automatic hit. And so I've sort of done this here where you don't even need to aim it at a mob to hit it. You just throw it sort of in a general direction and it damages them. And you can use this 15 times per day, sort of the cleric general go-to combat spell. The last 2 spells are Call Lightning, which I bet you can't guess what this one does. It is definitely one of my favorite spells. It is really fun, and you can use it to get charged creepers if you want to get mob heads or whatever you need. And then this last spell, probably the most powerful, probably the reason why the cleric can't wear the most different kinds of armor, is Fireball. Boom. It is definitely my favorite spell. So to cast Fireball, it works a little bit differently than most spells. Instead of just throwing and exploding on impact, it summons a Fireball that you then click on to shoot. That means it can have much longer range, and it's not limited by the snowball's arc. So Fireball does exactly what you think it does. It's a gassed... That's weird. Lag. It's a gas fireball that's explosion power has been raised a little bit. So it kills most things on a direct impact, but if you miss even slightly, it didn't kill it, like with that zombie here. But if it's a direct impact, then it does kill it. But you can only use this fireball 3 times per day if you were playing in survival or adventure mode. So the last thing I mentioned is it does take quite a few command blocks that are constantly running, so it might cause a little bit of lag on computers that aren't nice like mine is, or if you don't have a server with enough dedicated RAM. But if you wish to use these command blocks to create adventure maps, then all this stuff should work in adventure mode as well, where you can, in the last couple pages of the Lost Arts book that I showed you, which I got rid of, it showed you a couple commands to make people a class without having them to have to drop a book. So if I like type this, scoreboard players set Mr. McScuzzy, TLA, I use prefixes on all my scoreboard values so it can work with other commands and there's no interference. TLA class, and if I set it to 1, I'm now a fighter. And now that I'm a fighter, there's something I'd like to mention is I can't use spells anymore. I can like throw it and it's pretty much a normal snowball. I don't get any of the effects of the spells. And additionally, like if you're a cleric, you can't cast wizard spells, and if you're a wizard, you can't cast cleric spells. So I hope you've enjoyed this command block creation, the Lost Arts. I used to look around to see if there's any roleplay style things you can do inside of Minecraft, and I couldn't find anything that was really fun, or hardly anything that was roleplay style so you can play different games. So I decided to create my own. So you can just install this on any world, and you can play it like in normal survival mode, and this gives you reasons to use the different kinds of armor besides just all wearing iron first and then diamond later armor. It lets you use chain and leather and gold armor. It makes them more useful because leather you'd use if you can't wear iron, but you don't have your chain or gold yet. And then chain or gold would be your end game instead of your diamond, and so on. So I think this adds a really interesting dynamic to the game, and I look forward to hearing what you guys think. So I'll see you later, guys. This has been Mr. McScuzzy, and I'll see you next time.